welcome to Hardtalk India. Farooq Abdullah's autonomy resolution is perhaps the most serious challenge the Indian political system has faced in recent years. The Indian cabinet has, of course, unanimously rejected it, but is that the end of the road for autonomy, or will the struggle continue? That's one of just many questions that I shall put today to the man at the center of the controversy, the Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, Farooq Abdullah. Dr. Abdullah, the cabinet has unanimously rejected your assembly's demand for greater autonomy. Is this a slap in the face?
No, I don't think so. I think unfortunate it is, definitely, that without many of those ministers may not have read the report itself. And also unfortunate that we wanted them to discuss, not only with us, but with everybody else, and then arrive at this conclusion that they have come to.
You're seriously saying that many of the ministers in the Union cabinet may have taken this decision without reading the report?
I'm quite confident that they probably don't have the copy of the report even.
So they've actually taken it on the basis of prejudice and ignorance rather than informed knowledge?
No, I think it is what was put before them.
So they've been misled?
I'm sure that, I can't say they've been misled, but on some of the points they must have been misinformed.
Who by?
I think a lot of the media has been there, hype has been there. From Sangh Parivar, there has been a lot of talk about it, that is going to balkanize India, it is going to do all these things. I think that is what probably is worried, and the media has been playing it up in a very big way.
But this is a serious charge. You're saying that the government of the country has been misled by hype, by the Sangh Parivar, by misinformation.
Well, I think it is definitely misinformation, because I can't see them to outright reject a thing when they should have talked. If we couldn't convince them of their things, then I would have loved that they rejected it then. Then at least we would have no misgivings about it.
Was any effort made to talk to you?
No ministers talked to me, in the sense that except the Prime Minister that I've spoken to.
You met the Prime Minister the morning before the cabinet unanimously rejected this recommendation.
Yes.
What did he say to you?
I think there are certain things which Prime Minister and Chief Minister must keep to themselves.
But did he explore this matter? Did he explain why they were going to reject it, or did he simply give you a fait accompli?
No, he told me what was going to happen, and the reason why, and
the official reason given why is that this will lead to the disintegration of the country, and it will create a domino effect with more states demanding the same. Do you accept that as justified?
No, I don't think so. I think, if you remember, and I've been continuously saying to them, what was the need of Sarkaria Commission? The states do feel, even states that were ruled by the BJP and the other party was in the center, felt that center used to choke them, and that it was important that we should have a commission that will decide on a true federal structure.
So in fact, this is a dispute between a tight center that wants to retain control for itself and states, not just Jammu and Kashmir, but others that want more say in their lives.
Yes, I'm sure. Otherwise, why do other states also feel? I was in Karnataka yesterday. Even the Chief Minister of Karnataka said it openly before the people at that function, that states must be given more power.
Now, in 1996, you won an election with a two-thirds majority in the Jammu Assembly over the issue of greater autonomy. That's what you promised them. Today, the centre has rejected it. What message is the centre sending to Srinagar with this rejection?
I think you will see that on the people themselves. I think many must have felt bad about it, that without talking on the subject, they have taken this decision.
Be blunt, will alienation grow?
I think there is always alienation, and I thought maybe that with this, that alienation would be reduced and gradually finished.
And now will the opposite happen? Will it further?
I'm sure alienation will grow, that things are done without discussions on them.
In your speech in the Assembly in June, you said, don't push us to the wall as you pushed Jinnah in 1940. Today, with this rejection, do you feel you've got your back against the wall?
No, I did say that. I said, don't push us to the wall. It doesn't mean that we have been pushed to the wall as yet. I mean, it's just one rejection that the cabinet has done. There are people who will still speak about it. It's not going to end. It's not going to wash away.
Will the struggle for greater autonomy in Jammu and Kashmir continue, or are you going to accept this and give it up now?
If I had to give it up, I would have never started. We wouldn't have started in '64 when we discussed autonomy with Narasimha Rao's government.
You mean 94?
94, yes. And sky was the limit was promised to us. Then greater autonomy was promised by the United Front.
But this time you're an ally of the BJP, you're part of the National Democratic Alliance government. Your hopes must have been greater than ever before that as part of the system you would get what you want. And they, your own friends and allies, have turned it down. Where does hope come now?
Hope never dies. That is the great thing about it. If you believe that you are right, if you believe what you're doing is going to be in the interest of the nation itself, you don't give up. You
but
go
your
on
allies
struggling.
don't believe it. Bal Thackeray, an ally of yours in the National Democratic Alliance, says you're a traitor and you should be arrested. Khushabu Thackeray, president of the BJP, says autonomy is out of the question. So where's the room for hope?
Well, just because these people say so does not mean that you give up. It is not so with us.
No, you can't afford to
We
admit
have
you're
not
giving
given
up.
it up then. My father spent years in jail. 75 Accord also with Mrs. Gandhi was the same thing. It's the last thing he said, this is what we have achieved and we have to go further.
At what point then will you be prepared to break with the NDA? Because clearly the NDA is not going to change its mind.
I guess the question of breaking and not breaking is a matter which party decides. It is not I who decide. We are a democratic party. And in a democratic party, these things are put up before the highest body, that's the working committee. And when that meets, whatever they decide, we'll
When
do.
will it next meet?
Tomorrow.
And will this issue be put to them tomorrow?
I think a number of issues will be put to them.
But the critical issue is the relationship
question
between...
of rejection by them, without discussion with anyone, will be
And
taken up.
when the executive body turns to you as president of the party for your advice and guidance about the future relationship with the National Democratic Alliance, what will you tell them?
Karan, I don't think I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell them, because it would not be right.
Yes, but you're not saying what you could so easily say, which is, we will continue, full stop, we are part of the NDA forever, full stop. You're not saying that.
A lot of things are best not said at a moment when things are, when the injury is recent. You wait. You don't jump. In politics, one has learnt to be patient.
You're saying revenge is a dish best served cold.
I don't know, that is what you say.
But you are leaving open the possibility that the National Conference might choose over this issue to break with the National Democratic Alliance.
No, I'm saying nothing like that. I'm
You're not
neither saying
denying
I'm
it.
going to break it, nor am I going to say I'm going to stay in it. It's not the thing.
But you will discuss
I
it.
am part and parcel of NDA today.
For how long will you be?
Well,
That's to be decided, isn't it?
that is to be decided by the party.
Absolutely. And the party, when it meets tomorrow or next week or whenever, may well on this issue choose to break.
That is what you say.
And that is possible too, because they're not denying it.
It's not a question of denial. It's a question of the facts.
All right, let me put something to you. Many people believe that had Farooq Abdullah gone about seeking autonomy differently, he might have been more successful. Did you make a mistake in forcing a vote on a resolution, thus making it look like a confrontation between Srinagar and Delhi? With hindsight, were you a little impetuous?
No. The report has been with the Home Ministries from the day it was passed last year. It was prepared and it was presented to the House last year in April. We then sent copies to the ministry. They probably never saw Home Minister.
Quite right, and you told that story many times, Dr. Saab, that there was a lot of delay, there was a lot of misunderstanding, but given that something like 15 months had lapsed between the report being finalized and the discussion happening, why then push things to a conclusion in just 4 days?
Not at all. The debate was to take place in April this year when the Assembly was in session. They wanted a debate, and we had a long Assembly session, the budget session. And they wanted 1 day's debate. Now, how can you have on a vital issue like this 1 day's debate or 2 days debate?
So you had a 4-day debate.
So we had nearly a week's debate on this. And I promised them then that we will have a debate on this on 19th of June. That was the earliest we could have.
And when on the 22nd you came to Delhi to meet the Prime Minister, did you give him any assurance that a resolution would not be put to the vote, or did you fudge the issue?
I think you should ask him.
Well, his principal private secretary, Brijesh Mishra, has gone on record to say that the clear impression given to the Prime Minister's office was that there would be no vote on any resolution. Now, is Mr. Mishra right
I would
or
like
wrong?
to ask you, vote on resolution, if you discuss a case for a whole week, at the end of the day, do you tell the members that no, we're not going to vote on it? When we have come to power before the people, that we will achieve autonomy and that we will work towards this. That was our slogan when we went to the people.
So the resolution is inevitable.
We're not liars.
So the resolution is inevitable.
Resolution was inevitable. There's no way.
So
we did not bring the bill, which would be a subtle law. We brought in a resolution saying that let's discuss on this issue.
But you're going further. You're also saying that the Prime Minister or the Prime Minister's office should have understood that a resolution was inevitable. There was no question of your misleading them about it.
Sir, you have a discussion on a resolution. We are a political party. We have come with an agenda before the people. Why didn't they raise problems then when Narasimha Rao said, sky is the limit on autonomy? I want to ask you, why didn't they say then that there is something dangerous?
Let's stick briefly to June the 22nd. Are you saying to me that in fact the Prime Minister and his office should have understood a resolution and a vote on it was inevitable, and therefore there was no question of you having to say so formally? Or are you saying that in fact you had in fact categorically told them there would be a vote?
No,
which of the two?
I didn't say categorically anything. I said this is a thing before the assembly.
So when Mr.
They did try to tell me that it was right that you should not really put it through. I should hold it.
And you demurred?
I could not hold it. There was no way that I could hold it.
So in fact,
I am not one servant of a chair. I'm servant of the people.
So when you walked out of the Prime Minister's office after that meeting on the 22nd of June, he was left in no doubt that there would be a vote.
He may have been left in doubt. How can I say that he may not have been left in doubt?
But you did your best to explain it.
I explained my position, I explained the report, I explained the whole thing.
Okay, let's now move on. This resolution has happened. You've also said that you're committed to fighting for it. Let me talk to you about the substance of what autonomy actually means. In 1975, when your father came back to power, he virtually agreed, by and large, to the relationship between Srinagar and Delhi as it existed at that time. Today, you're calling for a rollback to 52. Why are you asking for more than he was asking for in 75?
I don't think you really know what happened behind. He wasn't even going to become the chief minister. He wasn't going to take the chair. The man who was then the chief minister is still alive, thank God, Mir Qasim. Ask him. He will tell you.
So you're suggesting
that at that time, even last minute also, he refused to take the chair. And he said at that time also, when that letter was drafted and sent, that whereas we have come up to this place, we have a long way to go also to settle almost all our problems that are there of return to 53.
So in other words,
that letter is there.
Your position and your father's position is the same, and any belief in the media or political circles that it's different is mistaken, because they don't realize that in fact your father was very reluctant to take the chair right to the last moment.
Yes, and ask him, he's there.
And you're actually saying that there was a letter sent to Mrs. Gandhi the night before he assumed office where
that
he told her
there.
categorically.
You ask, the man is there. I'm not saying something which I do not know.
So as much as you, Sheikh Saab also was holding out for a rollback to 52. There's no difference between the two of you on this.
There has never been difference on my party, not my father alone, in the party itself, to 50 and 51 agreements.
As you say, this is a starting point. You've repeatedly said that what you want to do is to have a discussion, and you're upset that the government hasn't even discussed it. Does this mean that your position is flexible, that you're prepared to accommodate other views, that you're prepared to negotiate?
Let me say one thing very clear. We made it abundantly clear in the House itself also, repeatedly, that the misunderstandings that are there in the people's mind, that this is question of secession by asking for these things. I made it clear to them, for God's sake, let us talk. And not only do we talk to the government, let us talk to everybody else.
And if someone can convince you that on a particular point or 2 or 3 points, the rollback should not be to 52 but to 54 or 64, you are prepared to accommodate that if convinced?
Sir, when you have discussion, we have made it abundantly clear. You either convince us or we convince you.
So in other words, it's not necessarily roll back to 52, it's roll back to a point at which you or the other side is convinced is the right point.
Correct. The right point which people will then not say, that, look, you're traitors. The very first thing it says in that thing, that accession to India is complete and irrevocable.
And that remains your position today?
It has remained always, and to my dying day it will remain.
Despite the fact that you've been unanimously rejected by the Union Cabinet on Tuesday morning?
My belief in the nation will never die.
You're going one step further also. You're also saying that the Union Cabinet has rejected your resolution for autonomy without appreciating, without even bothering to discuss and find out that actually you're not saying all the way back to 52 full stop. What you're saying is, let's discuss, let's together agree what we roll back where to.
Sir, I say to them, let us talk about it. Let's see if we are wrong in any place.
So there's give and take on your side as well?
Why not? I am telling them, for God's sake, come and discuss with us. If we are wrong, convince us we are wrong, that this is going to be damaging to the country, it is going to destroy the country, we are ready to discuss and we're ready to take any step that is necessary.
You've made it very clear that 52 is just a starting point for discussion. It's not the end point. The end point could be anywhere between 52 and 2000.
Sir, discussion is a discussion. There is a different thing between confrontation and conciliation.
Then let me put this to you. Do you have an absolute indivisible minimum that you must secure? Or is everything
Sir,
flexible?
All these things can come by talking. We cannot decide across the table like this. So what is...
But the people
point?
of India, not now the politicians of India, not your allies or your opponents, but the people of India to whom this really matters, because it's their country and their future we're talking about, would like some understanding of what is Farooq Abdullah's absolute indivisible minimum that he feels he has to have. Can you not share that with them?
No, it is not like this that I can share by talking to you like this. We will have number of debates. In debates it will emerge, you will see. It's not going to stop just because Union Cabinet has finished it.
Is it possible that there isn't, in fact, an absolute minimum that you must have? That, in fact, from beginning to end, everything is open for negotiation and for convincing on both sides? There's no rock on which you have to rest.
I don't think there are rocks in discussion. Question is, we have to discuss. We think on our side we are clear, we are correct, we are within our limits. Let others convince us that we are not
Let
clear.
me put something to you. It's often said that one breaking point for Farooq Abdullah would be the non-applicability of Article 356 to Kashmir. A second breaking point would be the right of the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly to choose its own governor or head of state. Can you confirm that those are two things you want?
Article 356 we have opposed always.
And what about the right
Now,
of the
not only
Assembly to
have we
choose its own
opposed
head of
Article
state?
356, many other chief ministers, and it is still under discussion with the Union Cabinet, headed by
Quite right.
the
So this
Minister
is a
George
concern.
Fernandes.
This is a concern that many state chief ministers, not just you, share.
Exactly.
What about your Assembly's right to choose its own head of state? Is that important
Now
to you?
now one thing more, very important I must tell you, is that head of the state works at the pleasure of President of India.
So even though you choose it, he still is removable at the pleasure of the president.
He recommends the removal to the State Assembly.
So what you're saying is, even if I insist that I have to choose by recommending through my assembly who the head of state will be, nonetheless, please remember, you can remove him.
Process is there. The president will recommend to the assembly that he should be removed or he should be impeached because of these things, and then the assembly decides on the impeachment.
Quite right. So we've established, Dr. Abdullah, although not quite as clearly as I would have liked, the two things that are important to you is the non-applicability of Article 356 and the right of your assembly in Jammu and Kashmir to recommend to the president its choice for the head of state. Those are two important things for you. Is that right?
Yes. I think it's very important.
Okay, let me move on. It's often said that something else that's important to you is the change in nomenclature to Sadr-e Riyasat and Wazir-e Azam. Now, I know that those are symbolic, but are they genuinely important, or are those something on which you're prepared to trade and negotiate?
These nomenclatures are important. It is not that you trade in these things. It's not a bartering business that I barter this for you and you barter this for me. Not at all. The question is, the nomenclature has been there. Now, when up to 64, it did not shake India from the time it was independent, how is it now that it is going to shake Indian democracy?
So this is the point on which you would like to feel that you have your way.
Even Narasimha Rao promised us this thing, the nomenclature, I'll give you this thing.
So in fact,
but the substance wasn't there.
And there is corroboration from the statements made by previous prime ministers
today
like
when
Narasimha
the Congress is raking all this thing, it was their president and their prime minister.
Let's come briefly to some of the great institutions that function under the Indian constitution. For instance, the Supreme Court. In his speech to the Jammu and Kashmir Assembly on the 11th of August 1952, your father said that the Supreme Court would continue to have jurisdiction under the Delhi Agreement over fundamental rights, over all issues to do with Article 131. But he said, as regards the question of the Supreme Court being the final arbiter of all matters criminal and civil, that was an issue that would be discussed. In other words, he left it open. Today, let me put something else to you. As an Indian, 50 years after the accession of Kashmir to India, and in the interest of a nationwide pan-Indian system of justice, can you make that one further concession? Can you say that in negotiation, I will agree for the Supreme Court to be the final arbiter?
You see, let the discussion start. Where is the discussion?
So there's room here.
I mean,
so there's room here.
It's not a question of room. There is room for everything.
You see, when the press when politicians say...
for God's sake, there's discussion on every issue, not only Supreme Court, everything else.
So when the press and when politicians say that Farooq Abdullah is cutting the Supreme Court out of Jammu and Kashmir, they're wrong.
They're not only wrong, they are trying to malign Farooq Abdullah and also misguide the people of India.
And is this not also then the position with regards to the fiscal relationship between Delhi and Srinagar? Again, your father, on the 11th of August 52, said this was a matter that had to be gone into in detail. Is that still your position today?
Why not? It is still our position that we have to talk and find a way out in this.
And when you talk, you could end up with a very, very close relationship, not necessarily a separation in fiscal terms.
Who says so? We say, for God's sake, when you discuss, in discussion, you bring all these issues, and you will find a situation which will be conducive for all.
Dr. Abdullah, as you sit in front of me and as the audience hears you at home, they're all going to say that suddenly this man sounds reasonable, he's prepared to negotiate, he has no sticking points, he's prepared to accommodate all sorts of views. It's not all the way back to 52, it could be 54, 60, 70. Did you make this clear in the words you're using today to the Prime Minister, to your allies in the government when you spoke to them?
Sir, I have made it clear to the nation when I spoke in the Assembly, and I said, it is not the question of 53, it is the question of we are in the 21st century. It will be something for the 21st century.
Why did they not listen to you when you said this in the Assembly? Why did the Prime Minister not listen to you when you said it to him in his home?
Unfortunately, many people don't listen to things that they should listen.
Is it because you said things like you're pushing us to the wall like Jinnah? Is it because you said, perhaps mistakenly, perhaps exaggeratedly, that if I'd gone to Pakistan, I could have been Prime Minister? In other words, has your rhetoric been the problem?
The way I said it and the way I meant it, it is possible these people didn't understand.
You concede that?
I mean, don't you think Jinnah was a nationalist? My father continuously told me that he was more nationalist than many.
To Dr. Abdullah.
And Jinnah had been driven to have that moth eaten Pakistan. I still say that time has come when we should see the mistakes we have committed in the past and try and mend our ways for future, for better and stronger India.
Dr. Abdullah, are you the Jinnah of the year 2000 who's pushed to the wall?
No. I'm neither that intelligent and that great lawyer.
Would you rather be the Gandhi of the 21st century who can bring balm and salvage to a hurt nation?
I think what we need is to build a nation where we understand each other's pain, each other's troubles,
and you're going
and
to
win.
And you're the man to do that.
I want to do that. The rest is up to God.
Dr. Abdullah, for this interview, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Thank you.